Oh, this is a really, really ugly one. Now, I know the Jaguars couldn't play a lick, and they were terrible, so we downgrade them. But you know what? When the media calls you out and says you're terrible, inevitably, that's the time a team doesn't quit and they show up and play hard.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's been at this resort casino maybe 5 million times, but somehow got off on the wrong floor today and was desperately searching for the studio. I'm glad you found us.
It's like Jeff Spicoli. It's like this new schedule is like totally confusing. I'm used to going to the D.
Steve Fezzik, everybody, the only back-to-back winner of the Hilton Super Contest. By the way, when I introduce you like that, you know there's always someone out there who always objects to me. He won it in the year, Eisenhower. He won it during the Eisenhower administration, that kind of thing.
Well, Jeff Madsen will relate because he was like the World Series poker player of the year back like 20 years ago. And like I won the South Point twice. I was a 2-time Stardust Invitational. I won the Leroy's College Football Challenge. So like if only I knew then what I know now, like I was just running luckier than God, And so your natural reaction, well, this can't all just be chance. Yes.
Before we go on to some other stuff, so that luck thing. So we call you in our group thread that we have with Wishnev and Will Hill and Falika. We call you the biggest luck box we've ever. So now this doesn't take away from how good you are at what you do either. But you are both good and the luckiest bettor I've ever witnessed in my life. Stuff, like I'm talking about stuff, let's take a situation that's happening in a game, right? Oh, you need a field goal. Oh, you don't need them to kick a field goal. Oh, you need them to get the fourth down. Oh, you don't need them to get the fourth down. Stuff that happens to mere mortals like myself, and I'll speak for most of the audience, where we're like, okay, this never goes our way. It goes your way seemingly every time.
So, like, famously, like, I'm laying minus 7.5, and my team's losing the entire game.
Yes.
Like, down 10. And then out of nowhere, like, it's double overtime, and my team's up 8. It's like, how does that possibly, no one else would have a chance to win. But to be honest, I would quantify, I ran better than anybody from like 1995 to 2006. Then I ran terrible from like 2000, all the way through 2012. Then 2012 to 2017, I had 5 years. I would argue I ran horrendous for 5 years. Since then, I'm back to running better than anybody.
That's incredible.
It's just, it's unbelievable. It's like, it's been a 3-way roller coaster, up, down, up.
Yeah. Most people, like myself, I can name you years where I was great and then years where everything went against me. But you have like these chunks of time.
When I became a father for 5 years, it was just such I got married and had a child. And for 5 years, I just was discombobulated. It just was such a sudden shock to the system.
Well, that's probably should be your priority in those years, I think.
Probably a good thing.
The big-brained child that you have who's doing wonderful things, we should say. Okay, let's talk about one of the things that you've done here. You're kind enough to come in every Friday, and one of the things that you've done, which has been great, is not just the week itself that we're heading into, the weekend that we're heading into, but the coming week. You have been great at sort of isolating some look-aheads for us.
Yeah, so a bear, an actuary, and a pioneer all come into Circa.
That's Buddhist man's joke today on Twitter,
yes. So who's going to win the most money in the casino? Well, the bear and the pioneer, unless the actuary like gets to look ahead in his crystal ball. And you know what? I'd rather play checkers than chess. I'd rather look to give you winners week 5 into virgin lines than week 4 into settled lines.
By the way, the bear is Chris Falika. The pioneer is Dr. Bob. You are the actuary in the middle. You were an actuary by trade, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm a fellow in the Society of Actuaries, which is like the highest designation. So
a fellow.
Absolutely.
A fellow, are you?
A fellow.
So what do you like in week 5?
So let's take a look at the Green Bay Packers. By the way, Jordan Love, not only is he a top 10 quarterback, I'd say you could easily slide him in the top 5 quarterback. Now, the question is, how healthy is he? Of course, I just go on my pure power ratings. On a neutral, I make the game 5.5. There's going to be a lot of dudes in L.A. with those ugly yellow hats that they have. Look. I'm not sure what's going on there, but Green Bay is going to represent in L.A. I can't give L.A. more, even with the travel, more than 1.5, and that's generous for home field. So 5.5 minus 1.5. 4.
There you go.
4. And so I'm laying 3. This is at DraftKings. That would That would be my best bet for week 5.
Oh, was that your boop, 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 boop? Was that what you were trying to do?
That's what I'm looking for.
All right.
you.
And there was another one you like a week 5 too, right?
Yes. So, but wait, I'm not supposed to disclose what these lines are, but you won't know what these lines are when you're doing guessing lines because they'll have changed.
Yes.
So this is kind of a little.
It will not affect. It will not affect me from Sunday to Monday.
It's kind of like when they ask jurors, "How can it not affect you? You heard it. Disregard these lines."
Wait,
Steve
you think
Fezzik.
I'm listening right now?
Disregard any line Steve Fezzik is saying. Cowboys, Steelers. I think the Steelers are better than the Cowboys, and they're catching one. That just can't be right. So go ahead and give me Pittsburgh week 5, catching the 1 point.
Okay. So a look ahead again from Steve Fezzik. Yeah, we do this every week. What about this weekend itself? Is there a bet that you like above all?
Yes. So, this is a really, really ugly one. So we are going to look to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wires?
Yeah. Either way.
So let's do a comp here. All right. So the best team in the NFL I have is the Buffalo Bills right now. Number 1 in my power ratings. I have Houston like number 15, and I'm actually some people have them even lower.
You have Buffalo 1 and Houston 15.
And I thought I was going to be on an island low. I actually have Houston higher than everyone else. There's like there's an aggregator. Imagine that. Someone aggregates power ratings. So they take mine, they take Rufus Peabody, Massey Peabody lines, they take Cleve TA's lines, they take everybody's lines, and they say, here's the average. And they actually have Buffalo like 6 points better than Houston, which I was shocked by. I mean, Buffalo's better, but maybe I have them by 2.5.
I think these power ratings are horrific.
I lean to my power ratings.
Okay.
More than, but I have Buffalo 2.5 points better than Houston. So here's where I'm going.
That's reasonable.
If you wanted to bet against the Jaguars, why not have played Buffalo last week -4? Buffalo, who's really good, rather than play a much inferior team with Houston, and now you're laying 6. So you're laying 1.5 or 2 more points with a team that's 3 points worse. Now I know the Jaguars couldn't play a lick, and they were terrible, so we downgrade them. But you know what? My experience has been, I know we want to say, they're a touchdown worse than what I thought. The most I like to ever move a team is 2 points, and I moved Jacksonville 2 points, and based upon those power ratings, absolutely value with Jacksonville. And when the media calls you out and says you're terrible, inevitably that's the time a team doesn't quit and they show up and play hard.
Jaguars, please, for God's sakes, not Jaguars.
Jaguars.
We had this discussion off air because it comes up from time to time. Oh, how long do folks who model the NFL, how long do they keep their priors? And you asked me, and I immediately said, the pat response is always 4 weeks, right? Always that. You have a different opinion of that.
Yeah, well, it's a declining scale, obviously.
Yes.
All right, but I'd say over a year. Like, literally, I can get to week 16.
Over a year?
Over a year. Because, think about this.
Isn't that Meshuggah, though?
With that Meshuggah term again.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I got to break out my thesaurus and my dictionary whenever I listen to you.
Yiddish. If a team stinks for 4 months, you're still not giving that full credence?
Correct. I'll go as far as like even in baseball. Like we played 162 games, and I would still say a few of the priors, like the Blue Jays, who were terrible this year, all year long, right?
Yeah.
And it's probably a bad example because anyone who anchored the Blue Jays to their initial number. Let me give an example of why the market agrees with me, by the way, okay? Look at Jacksonville. Their season win right now, before the season started, was 8.5. They're horrendous. They're 0-3. It's still 6.5. They're still staying anchored to the fact that Jacksonville is basically a 500 team. Now, I disagree with that. I like Jacksonville under 6.5, a little bonus bet for season wins, and you can still play that at Caesars and DraftKings and some other places. But in general, I would say that even like week 9, 10, 11, the odds makers, baseball and football, they stay true. When they calculate like a season win the rest of the year, they're basically projecting that team to win based upon their preseason win percentages.
Yeah.
That I disagree with as well, but I would say by like week 10, typically I would say it's like 2/3 this year, 1/3 the anchor to start the year.
No, truly this will sound nuts to most people listening because we all remember certain seasons. Remember when Cleveland was terrible and books just kept getting crushed because they kept covering, I think it was?
No, the Cleveland famously for 2 years they won the season. They won no games, and then they won 2 games. But yet every week, the Sharps would, and they weren't covering. The Sharps
they weren't covering. The Sharps kept pounding,
and they kept losing.
Yes,
week after week after week, and they would like have the ball first and goal on the one at the end of a half, and they would do a Sirianni and not score.
I remember one year Rufus kept saying, I think it was the year after Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl. He kept saying how good they were, and finally I lost it on the Megapod. I'm like, they're terrible, and they really did stink. Right, so I mean, I think we remember those situations, but what you're saying is, I mean, it's worked for you through the years to do it your way.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And really, team by team. Now, you have a general principle rule, but some teams are different than other teams. I mean, the Vikings, we had no idea how good the Vikings were going to be, all right? And I think it's fair to say that, well, Darnold's capable, and we've got O'Connell's a great coach, and we need to massively move off of our pre-flop anchor with the Vikings. It was just wrong.
Oh, okay. So at least you do have some conscience about it. Okay, that makes me feel a little better. More with Steve Fezzik. I'll say it again, the only back-to-back winner of the Hilton Super Contest. On the other side, right here on A Numbers Game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We get tweets at Beating the Book. I'm being scolded in one of these tweets, and I think it's an appropriate scolding. This is from the real Mike Alasko. He said the 1962 Mets were 40-120, not 42 and 120. They did not make up 2 games. Make sure you get it right. You're right, Mike Alasko. I should make sure. So the White Sox are 39-120. They got 3 games left. The 62 Mets were 40-120. As you pointed out off air, Steve, that was part of the reason why the 69 Mets were called the Amazing Mets.
Because they were amazingly bad, and somehow in the same decade, hey, we could put a man on the moon in the 60s. The Mets can win the World Series. Ron Swoboda, Cleon Jones, Tom Seaver. Wow. That was great pitching staff. Not very good team. And then they went back in '73 to the World Series. So just a great run for the Metropolitans.
You can name 60s and 70s baseball lineups better than you can tell people what happened yesterday. Right?
I'm not sure who won the World Series last year. It's just scary how baseball I used to love. By the way,
Texas Rangers. By the way, in case you're scoring at home.
Say that's impossible.
Yeah.
The only team they could beat would be like a team like Arizona. I'd be remiss not to mention. So I listened to podcasts throughout the week, and I listened to the Megapod, and I got to give accolades. This is like one of the greatest sports betting pods I've ever heard.
Oh, you're very nice. Thank you very much.
It's reminiscent. Yeah. I remember a review of Bruce Springsteen. This is in the 70s, where a Rolling Stones author goes to see him like in a local club, and he's down. He's like just seen like 4 other bands, and they've sucked. And I've listened to 4 other like pods from sports betting pros, and I'm just like I'm down. I'm depressed. I'm like, what am I doing with my time? I am not entertained, as they say in Gladiator. Are you not entertained? I'm not entertained. And then literally I got to see the battle against the barbarians, scene from Gladiator, the Wishnev, Will Hill, just spectacular. The whale swimming around there.
Yeah.
It was anything from being gouged in pricing to being gouged in sprinkles with sprinkling of tips of sharp betting. I was entertained.
I hope you were entertained and you were informed as well. Todd Wishnev and Will Hill, awesome to have them each and every week. And of course, the guest, like yourself, who came on week 1, always so generous with their time and insights. And we have a ball doing it. It's every Thursday, the Megapod. That was very nice of you, Stevie. I did not know.
Only because it is fully deserved. So don't miss this one. Really good.
Thank you. Beating the Book Megapod, where all podcasts are distributed. I want to talk about Survivor. You are out of Survivor, as am I, and you hate yourself.
I'm terrible.
I'm soaked in self-loathing.
There is no self-loathing. There is no excuse. I completely misplayed. I'm like Walter Brown, former U.S. Chess Open. One time he lost to like a 1600, and he's like, it's an incredible situation. I make this move, and I'm winning. And I know this is the right move, and somehow I miss it, and I made this move. What am I doing? So last week, there was 5 big favorites, 6.5 point favorites plus or minus 1. So which one do we take? Well, we handicap all the individual games, and we take the one we like the best, right? Wrong. What we do is we realize the Thursday game is always underrepresented. People kind of want to do all the research and in all their contests, and I'm the first one to say I don't like using the Thursday game because it locks in my other 4 picks, but that's not the case in Survivor. There's one pick. Survive in advance. 14 million, Gilly. That's life-changing money.
Yes, it is.
And it's obvious you take the Jets because it's going to be underrepresented. Only like 500 people are going to take the Jets, and like 1,200 people are going to take Cleveland or Cincinnati or the Raiders and the like. So because of that, the top 4 picks all lose. The fit number 5 pick, the Jets win. And I should have been on the Jets. I'll make the case. Everyone who remains in Survivor, well, not everyone, but a whole bunch of them, they were pretty funky in what they chose weeks 1 and 2. Maybe sharp, maybe not so sharp. But week 3, this is the sharpest group of survivors you will ever see, because this was the optimal path to take the path, the least resistance. And it'll be interesting now how many of these people are going to take kind of a funky, quirky path the rest of the way, because now, think about this, they're already on the funky, quirky path, and they might duplicate more than you might ever expect.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are probably sharp, but I think you're giving credit, too much credit to all 642. I think there's a lot of luck involved.
I think week 1 and 2 completely random, but there was no luck week 3. You had to play the Jets. I didn't do it, and I played badly. I was horrible.
I've never seen you hate yourself so much. For a guy who doesn't often hate himself, you really hate yourself.
Dollars.
Okay, well, for those who are still involved in it now, we were talking about this with Crack yesterday. He's with a partner. He has one entry with a partner.
I got a piece of crack.
You have a piece of crack?
I'm a survivor.
Oh, no.
Order the jacket, baby.
Dude, you got to, if they win, you can't do the picture with the check anymore. Like, you're just an investor.
If I'm getting the check,
oh, God.
I can be in the picture.
You're a ridiculous human being. So if you
go, Crack, go.
Okay.
Go.
So now, do you have any say in what they pick, or are you just a silent guy?
He asked me, but it's
okay.
But I'm a silent guy.
So he asked you, so I'll ask you now. San Francisco is the biggest favorite on the board, but you have to assume, maybe you shouldn't assume, but I would assume that most people are going to take the Niners. There is no Christmas or Thanksgiving consideration. So Crack's thing is Crack wants to play the Niners, but his partner says, oh no, we shouldn't do that. I'm kind of with his partner, but I don't know if I would have the onions to do that. What do you advocate?
I'm already out, and I don't have a big enough opinion. Whatever. I believe in Crack. So get us a winner, Bill.
Okay, so you're not going to chime in on the thing.
I would play Niners, but it's I would be fine going contrarian.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also talked briefly about this website, Survivor Sweat. We gave them a big plug yesterday. Good for those guys for coming up with this. This is like a auction house for entries that are still alive in Survivor for people who want to invest in it.
I would call these CSOs.
CSOs,
collateralized survivor options.
Okay, collateralized survivor options, otherwise known as, Steve is really trying to make that term stick, otherwise known as your opportunity to invest at varying percentages of the entries that are still alive in Circa Survivor. And the big revelation, and I'm curious because you are a guy who is always looking to invest, you're very clever about the percentage on the dollar that you are willing to invest.
80%. So
80%.
If a survivor, on average, they're worth $22,000. That's how much. So I didn't lose $14 million. I only lost $22,000 with my boneheaded mistake. So if you want to collateralize some of that value, instead of like doing the Joe Pita method where you stay up all night and you hedge like 18 games a week.
You hate the Joe Pita method. I know you do.
It's so inefficient. It makes sense. Joe Pita's method makes sense in a no-vig world, but in a vig world, it doesn't make sense, in my opinion. But what does make sense is just collateralize 10% of your survivor. Don't give away all of it, but just say, you know what? My 10% of my 22,000 is do the do thing.
Was it 10% of your
10% of your? Boop. That's it. Yeah. 2,200.
Yeah.
All right. So 2,200. So why not? Hey, I can go ahead and get back 2,200, lock that in, minus a small commission fee, like a 15 to 20%. So I'll give you 10% of me for 2,000. Now that's what I would expect to happen, but this isn't happening.
And I think Joe Pita would agree that the cleanest way to hedge is to have people purchase a percentage of it.
But people want to sweat. So now this is breaking a numbers game news. People are paying not 80 cents on the dollar, they're paying $1.03 on the dollar.
That's correct. This is what we talked about yesterday. This was the big revelation that not only it's not at a discount, it's at a markup. And so this is absolutely mind-boggling. Like, you would never buy a percentage of an entry for that, would you?
I wouldn't have last year, but I had a revelation. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Maybe for marketing purposes and for just, to discuss your brand, that it might make sense to buy in as an investor, even at a slight premium, and then be able to say, like, I never say I was a Circa Survivor winner. I never, ever say that, although I did order the jacket, which I thought was
Did
complimentary.
order the jacket,
I
Steve.
thought it was complimentary, and the dude
You ordered the
measured.
jacket,
He
man.
measured my chest and my arms, and then and when he asked for $800, I felt oh, it's not.
You sort of got hoodwinked into the jacket. Is what you're
It's
saying?
a good-looking jacket,
Well,
you know.
let me define what you're saying, because people are like, your brand. What are you talking about? You're talking about Steve Fezzik, public figure.
Yes.
For your brand, you want to be a part of it, period.
Think about how smart this is. It's like Mitch Moss, last man standing, won a major contest. Okay. Kenny White's daughter wins last man standing. Very important to your brand to have a contest win, at a minimum of one. And so there's people who've never won a contest. And so you would think they would be paying through the nose to try to invest in a survivor and get that as a part of their brand.
But I don't think an investment is the same as you originating.
Of course it isn't. Of
No.
course not.
Yeah, but you seem to believe it would matter, though.
I think it does matter.
An investment would?
Well,
It
you
would,
tell
it
me.
would matter to your bankroll if you won, but to your brand? Like, I don't think. Would you go around saying, I mean, are you going around touting your investment from last year?
Well, I do have the jacket.
I
It's
know
like
you do have
Fast
the
Times at Ridgemont High. Where'd you get that jacket,
I think we have
Steve? That looks good.
I think we have a slight disagreement on this matter.
Many thought
Yes.
like Cutback Davis was the surfer to beat today, but it was Jeff Spicoli that wound up wearing the jacket.
If you were looking for a place with Fast Times at Ridgemont High references, you've come to the right place. Steve Fezzik, everybody. Thank you as always for coming in here. Good luck with your investment.
Best bet, Jaguars.
Jaguars plus
Jaguars.
6 this weekend. That's your best bet. Thank you, Steve. Steve Fezzik, everybody, at Fezzik Sports. He's not the nicest guy at Fezzik Sports, but you may enjoy it anyway.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at zero cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.